Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at this ancient relic of a Dell laptop. This is probably about 18 to 20 years old. I'm guessing, I haven't looked up the exact date that it came out, but it's some ancient piece of junk that I found. And when I say piece of junk, it's not really a piece of junk. It's actually pretty nice what you can do with it, at least using an operating system from the time. The operating system on this, I think, is Ubuntu 10. And that was a lot newer than the laptop itself. The laptop was already really old by the time Ubuntu 10 was installed on this. So big difference between Ubuntu 10 and a modern Ubuntu Linux. But this laptop is pretty ancient. The model, all right, so this is a Dell Latitude D600, and I think the actual model number, according to what's written on the bottom, is model number PP05L. So it's this ancient laptop. Now I'm going to show you what's running on here, and then we're going to turn on the bright lights and flip it over and open up some of the panels in the back to show you some of the hardware, which is pretty neat. So this is first thing you're going to notice about this laptop, besides it just being really old, is that instead of having a wide screen, this is an actual square screen laptop from back when laptops used to have a square screen like this. So that is also interesting. Now this thing would work great with Windows XP if you were going to run Windows on it. I believe that's what was installed on it originally. It's actually what it says on the bottom. It says it's made for Windows XP Service Pack 1. So anyways, let's see what's on it. We've got a Ubuntu Linux on here, and it's missing some of the features you'd see on a modern Ubuntu Linux. So let's wait a minute. Okay, so we got a terminal here, and I'm going to show you some of the hardware too. I just want to show you what's running on this first really quick. And let's see if I can increase the font on this terminal. There we go. So you can see that a little bit better. And it's still a little hard to see, so bear with me. I'm going to read off what I'm looking at. So clear this. And okay, why is it lagging now? Okay, there we go. It's fine. It's not that, it runs pretty well, but I want to show you something. So free-h, it doesn't have the H option. It has that on a modern Linux. Invalid option, right? There is no free-h. So you can do free-m. This is back when gigs of RAM were not common. So free-m was totally reasonable, right? So you see here, RAM listed at, so we have 512 megs of RAM. It's listed as 596, and we're only using 218 gigs with 277 free. So some of that's being used for buffers and caches. And all right, look, that's kind of disappointing. It is using swap space. It wasn't using it before. It's using a little bit of swap, even though we still have a bunch of free RAM, at least a bunch of free RAM compared to what the system has. Now, this, I've seen freshly installed Linux systems, headless systems with no graphical desktop installed at all, modern times, running more, using more RAM, using more like 600 megs of RAM, right? So, modern systems, no graphical system using more than that. And if you're running a modern GNOME or KDE, they're so bloated these days that they're going to be using multiple gigs of RAM. So they're pretty crazy, like 2 or 3 gigs by default with nothing running. And it's easy to have like a browser like Chrome just eat up like 8 gigs of RAM, right? So here we have half a gig of RAM, half a gig, and we're running a graphical. So this is the GNOME desktop that came with Ubuntu before Unity, before Ubuntu even came out with Unity. This is the original GNOME that they're running on it. It runs like this, runs relatively well, functions pretty well. Half a gig of RAM, half a gig of RAM. Just wanted to point that out. That's the big thing. And let's check the CPU. So lscpu, and the lscpu command doesn't even take a -e. That is not a parameter that it takes. Gotten so used to typing it that way, doesn't take that parameter. But you do lscpu, only a single core. So architecture i686, 32-bit. I actually have to check and verify that this is a 32-bit. I think this is a 32-bit CPU. I'm not sure exactly which CPU this is using. It's either using a 64-bit CPU with 32-bit, maybe it's in that mode, and it's running a 32-bit version of Ubuntu, or it's an actual 32-bit CPU. I would have to check on that and confirm. But we have one CPU, one core, one socket. That's it. No threads or anything. Genuine Intel. Yeah, and this is all, yeah, and we could dig deeper on hardware, but I wanted to show you that. So let's check the disk, df-h, and what do we have here? 27, wow, 27 gig disk. It's amazing they even used to make those, right? 5 gigs used. Now, you could get a system that small these days too. But yeah, look at that. Single core CPU, and the system functions. And this was considered reasonable back in the time. And this can do basically everything you can now do now, except you know, you know, high resolution videos with lots of frame rate, gaming, video editing, intense stuff. But otherwise, the basic desktop use that this can do is, you know, there's no more functionality that a modern system does. It's just modern systems are so bloated, they wouldn't even be able to run on this, right? So just to point that out, there's your disk, your single CPU, and half a gig of RAM. So that is pretty crazy, right? Now, that's all I really wanted to show you on this. Now, I'm going to close this up and I'm going to actually turn on a brighter light. Oh, and I'm going to show you what's on the bottom. But first, I want to point out there's a Dell logo. This is from back when you used to get these Apple stickers. I think this came from an iPod or something. Apple sticker on here, even though it's not an Apple laptop. Right, kind of almost, you know, it would be here if it were on like a MacBook. But yeah, interesting stuff. And let's turn the brighter light on to look at the ports and actually open up some of the panels. All right, so I've turned on a brighter light so you can see this a little bit better. Now, the reason I had the bright light, I had a light on, but I didn't turn my bright light on. The reason is the screen, just with my camera now, the screen doesn't pick up on my camera doesn't pick up the screen properly, and it doesn't look as bright and vibrant with the big bright light on. It kind of like floods it out. The screen is okay. It's just something about my camera and the lighting. Anyways, let's take a look at the ports on this first. So we actually have two old-fashioned USB ports. Still great for plugging in a keyboard and mouse, same form factor and stuff. Now we have this, I guess, I forget, is this S video? I think that's what that is. Then we have not just an Ethernet port, but we have, that's RJ45 Ethernet port, but then we have an RJ11. For those of you old enough to remember an old-fashioned wired phone line, you could plug that into there. That is a modem for dial-up internet. Now we get a VGA port, no HDMI, no DVI, none of that on this, just a regular old-fashioned VGA port for video output. And then we have a serial port and a parallel port, commonly used for printers and commonly used for other peripherals. Got our power here. We got a vent right here that is kind of broken, so you can see like for the CPU, you can see the heat sink on it. And on the side here, PCMCIA slot right here. So you used to be able to get cards for expansions, like a second network interface or a Wi-Fi card, something like that. You'd stick it in. I think this doesn't actually, I'm not sure if this has Wi-Fi. This might not have built-in Wi-Fi. You know, I think it does have built-in Wi-Fi. I'm 90% sure this has built-in Wi-Fi, so you wouldn't need to put a Wi-Fi card there. Yes, yeah, you know what? It might not. I'm not sure. It does, because it says up here, Wi-Fi. It's not configured. But, oh, look at that. Wi-Fi is working. So it has a Wi-Fi card on here, and it's working because it can detect the wireless networks in my area. So I still have this powered on. I should power it off before I actually start opening up some of the panels. Actually, I'm not going to unplug anything, so I don't need to. So here we have a microphone in and headphones out. We got both of those on this thing. And what else? On the other side, okay, we have a DVD drive. So one of these old, you know what, let's pop this. Oh, okay, that, if I push that out, we can actually pull this out, but push this thing and the drive actually comes out like this. So for those of you old enough, this isn't that old of a technology, but this is for DVDs or CDs, optical discs. You can slide those in. Laptops don't come with those anymore. So rewritable DVD drive right here. And if you push this, it's going to actually, you know what, let me halt this system. That way we can start pulling hardware off of this. So, and this is what I mean. The screen, you can still see it. It's totally fine. It's just on camera, it doesn't look as bright, right? So anyways, let's halt the system. Halt -P. And I think I'm going, all right, sudo halt -P. Oh boy. All right, you know, I'm going to pause this. All right, going down for power off. And I am going to be powering the system back on because at some point, because the plan is I'm going to try installing Windows XP on that because I think it might be interesting to look at. So there you go, turn that off. And the other thing that stands out about this, laptops in this day, has these really thin, not really nice to type on keys. Newer laptops are actually better in that sense. Still not a mechanical keyboard, but you know, it's something. It's not like the old ThinkPads. So now that we got that shut down, let's pop this out. So this button right here, okay, you actually pull on this. So you pop this out, you pull this out. There's a removable, so this is it. This is a Dell CD rewritable drive. and it plugs into it like that. So you could remove this. And I believe you could put like either a hard drive or an extra battery in there. I think that's what that is. Yeah, see, this is one thing to plug into it. But if you look inside there, actually you can't see because it's a little dark for the camera, but my eyes can see it. There's a plug for the drive and a plug for a battery. So you could put an extra battery in here if you wanted to have like an extra swappable battery for this thing. I believe that's what that's there for. Now let's take a look at the bottom, and you see here, I put a label on this. I have so many laptops, so many old junk laptops that I've either picked out of the trash, bought on eBay, bought from street vendors. But you see, Falcon One. I just put this label on here just because I had so many of them. I need to match them up with the power supplies, with the actual power supplies to charge these things. So I have so many laptops and so many chargers. They got confusing after a while. But yeah, Windows XP Professional 1, 2 CPU. I think that's something with a license. Anyway, I'm probably not just supposed to show that on eBay. Anyways, they put it right on the outside of the thing here. So there's a few things I wanted to show you. I believe RAM, hard drive, and battery. Yeah, RAM, hard drive, battery. Let's take a look at these real quick. So I'm going to use my iFixit toolkit. If you want to know where you can pick this toolkit up, I have the link in the description. I'm going to try to remember to put a link to where you can buy this. If not, I should have a standard link to things you can buy in my profile for this video, in the description for the video. Anyways, a standard link I put on all my videos. But anyways, yeah. So nice iFixit toolkit, great for fixing and taking apart like phones, laptops, game consoles, stuff like that. I want to start with this one. Oh, and there's another thing that can come off here. This thing right here, your headphone port and your microphone port. I actually want to pull that out first because I'm not sure why this is even removable, right? So let's pull it out just to see. Like, why is it even like this? Or should I pull this? No, should I even try? I'm not going to pull that out today. That is an adventure for another day. I don't, it doesn't feel like it wants to come out easily, and I don't want to mess around with it on video right now without trying it out off video. And I'm not disassembling this whole thing today. Maybe I will disassemble this whole thing at some point if enough people are interested in this. Otherwise, I'm going to probably focus on other hardware. So anyways, I guess let's just open this guy. This, I think, is supposed to be the hard drive, but let's find out. Let's find out for sure. So there we go. That is loose. And no, this is the RAM. I was wrong. This is the RAM. So let's pop one stick out and just take a look at it. Okay, look at that. Here's our stick of RAM. Oh my gosh, ancient RAM, PC2100S 25330A1. All right, 256 megs. 256 megs of RAM. That's DIMM-B. So this is going to be another 256 gigs of RAM, making it 512 megs of RAM. So 2 sticks of RAM for 512 megs of RAM. So this isn't using the base 256 megs of RAM. This is a full 512 megs of RAM. And remember, that was considered a powerful machine. Of course, you go really far back, you could have like a meg of RAM is considered powerful. But yeah, to me, it doesn't feel like that long ago that 512 megs was a powerful machine that could play all the games you could possibly want to play. Interesting times, right? So I'm going to put this back on. Nobody wants to see me, no one wants to see me screw that back on during the video. So I'm just going to take these other things apart first on video, and I'm going to put it back together off video so you don't have to watch me do that. So let's open this guy right here. And there's corrosion or something on this screw. Kind of interesting. All right, so let's pull this up like this, and there you go. This is a battery. Look at that, a battery that is working relatively well all these years later. There's something leaking here. It doesn't look like it's leaking out of the battery. Looks like it was some kind of glue or something that held it in place. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what got on this battery, but look at that. Look at that ancient Dell battery. And yeah, I'm not sure what type of battery it is. Dell rechargeable lithium ion battery. So there you go. Yeah, I basically had this thing unplugged for most of today, and it's been holding a charge relatively well. It hasn't been doing a lot, but it's been holding. The battery works, is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have the best battery life, but it is working. All right, so last thing I wanted to show you right here. Let's open this guy up. This should be the hard drive. It should be. Let's find out. Anyways, unless the hard drive pops out of that other thing, in which case I'll have to take that apart too. Okay, what is the, oh, okay, I was completely wrong about that as well. I think the hard drive is somewhere else. All right, not sure where the hard drive is. All right, so this is So this is a wireless card. So the wireless card, because we did check, this does have working wireless. It looks like this pops right out, has some wires for the antennas connected to it. It's an actual card for Wi-Fi. All right, how about that? I'm not sure where the hard drive is, actually. All right. I almost would have wanted to say it's here. And what else? All right, so it has to, you know what, it has to be that other thing. Okay, so it looks like we have to open that because this is the other side of the CD drive goes in here, right? So let's try not to lose any screws here while I pop this other. So it looks like I have to move this thing out. I'm not sure why our headphone jack is on the same thing that the, oh, that's kind of misleading. Let's see here. Let's pull the screw out and let's try to pry this thing out. All right, this is not, this is the hardest one too. But I'm pretty sure this has to be the hard drive. This doesn't want to come out. It will come out though. We have to take this out for this video. All right, this is not right. So maybe I should be removing this. I don't know. I don't think this is required to be removed, but you know, I may as well give it a shot. That would be kind of messed up if I'm trying to force this out when these screws need to be taken out. I think these screws are for the case, not for removing the hard drive, but let me give it a shot. Yeah, those are not needed to take the hard drive out or whatever is behind this panel, but let's find out. All right, so somehow this, like maybe it's just that I had to reach under the edge here. I had to open this up a bit. Somehow I got this to pop out. Has nothing to do with those other two screws. I may as well screw these guys back in here. That was a bit of a stretch. I knew it didn't have anything to do with that. But looks like we got our hard drive out. And yeah, this is fine. I can just leave that there. All right, so this is our hard drive, mechanical hard drive. And look at that. What is this? A Fujitsu hard drive? And yeah, this is like the what, 23 gigs. And somehow not seeing where it says that. All right, anyways, whatever. This is it. This is the hard drive. Somewhat non-standard plug. It looks like not, that does not look like SATA to me, unless I believe this is an IDE hard drive. These used to be common. I guess this is from the era when they would be, that does match up with the other hardware in here. IDE hard drives for standard. And I guess this is a mini version of IDE. It looks like those are actually jumpers there too. So jumpers and then the actual hard drive. And that is it. And it looks like they're your microphone and headphone jack are right here. They just stay there, right? So they don't come out with that thing, which makes more sense. Anyways, that's it. That is our entire laptop that we took apart. I mean, we didn't take the whole thing apart. That's another adventure for another day. I don't know if I'll do it. Maybe I'll do that if enough people want to see it. But probably I'm going to focus on other hardware. And the one other video I wanted to do with this specifically is probably install Windows XP. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to probably do a Windows XP install on this, maybe. Almost definitely going to do that. That's something I'm planning. I have a ton of other videos I'm backlogged on, but Windows XP is the next thing for this laptop. And maybe I'll try some other things. Maybe I'll try to get a modern, not Gentoo, but some modern Linux distro working on here. Or maybe just Minix. Minix is, if for those of you who've heard of it, Minix is a good choice. Anyways, that's about it for today. If you found this interesting, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below if you're old enough to remember something, some hardware this old, and definitely give me a thumbs up. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you actually get updates. And that's about it for today. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on that next video.